Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I am so excited about this whole new year. Got a co-host that I love. We got a great guest who knows about bail bonds. She's the bail bond queen. She's one of the largest bail bond companies in New York State, and very knowledgeable. And we're going to put her on a little while. I can only express my enthusiasm having Pamela Roth, who's not only she's an attorney, she's pretty and she's funny and smart, almost like me. No, I'm kidding.
I got more hair than you.
Everybody's got more hair than me.
Well, hello.
We had a little technical difficulty, which trying things, but we're on now. The way this works is I do a rant, but I'm ranting tonight. I'm happy. I'm not ranting. We're going to talk about the bail reform that screwed up the criminal justice system. We have Pat speaking as an attorney, me speaking as an investigator, and Michelle speaking as a bailsman. We have three aspects of law enforcement on the show. All right. So, Pamela, normally I go into some investigative stuff, and you can bring your legal expertise in. Okay.
Exactly.
So
First of all,
everybody read and heard about Alvin Bragg, new district attorney of New York City. I mean, it's all over the news, all over the internet, and I want you to chime in now and say your piece.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody. Happy New Year. January 6th, we're starting off 2022 with a fabulous show. Vinny and I decided to co-host this incredible show. It's an idea that we were talking about since last year called Law and Disorder. So, you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I'm nervous now. I'm talking and nobody can hear me. Can you hear me?
I don't hear you.
You can't hear me.
We got technical difficulty tonight.
Okay.
Anthony, can you do anything with this?
Can you hear me now? I'm starting to feel like one of those telephone commercials. Can you hear me now? I can't hear anybody.
I'm in the phone with him.
Okay, I'm talking and I don't know if you can hear me.
Through the phone, not through the.
Anything yet? Should I keep talking? I don't hear you. This is terrible. Okay, can you hear me now? Michelle hears me and nobody else can hear me. Okay, so it's the first show of the season and we need to work out these technical glitches. Oh, everyone hears me. Okay, great. So everybody, welcome to the first show of the year 2022. It's Law and Disorder. Obviously, we know Vinny Parco. He is a private investigator. I am a former prosecutor in the Brooklyn DA's office, and I've been a criminal defense attorney now for about 25 years. And we have our guest on the show, Michele Esquinazi. And so tonight we're going to be discussing the ramifications of the bail reform that was passed in New York prior to COVID. And also now, because we have new people in power, we have the new mayor, Mayor Eric Adams, former New York City police officer, very tough on crime. And then the new DA was sworn in, Alvin Bragg, who's a former prosecutor, also former federal prosecutor. And it's all over the news today how his position on crime is totally in opposite to the new mayor, Eric Adams. And we're going to be discussing bail reform and the spike in crime and what's been going on in New York. And it'll be even better once we can get Vinny on so that everybody can hear what he has to say, so I don't have to run this entire show. So, Vinny, anytime you want, just chime right in. Michelle, jump right in. So, if anyone's been following what's been going on in the news today, it is the. I think you should send them a text. It's all over the news today, and everybody's commenting on New York County DA Bragg's position on crime in New York. Basically, they're not going. The New York County DA's office is not going to prosecute any crimes um, other than murder. So it's in the news that if a gunman goes in and at gunpoint robs a store, a bodega, anything in New York City, not going to get prosecuted. So it's like a free reign, it's a free pass for any of the criminals in New York City to run rampant with crime. And if we thought that New York was bad over the last number of months during the quarantine, when we saw so much looting, and rioting, that's probably nothing compared to what's going to be going on in the future. So we're going to have the next 4 years of this new DA in Manhattan not wanting to prosecute serious crimes if people are not injured or shot. And it's, I don't know myself if I'm going to want to stay in New York. I'm a former prosecutor, I'm a defense attorney, but you can't pick and choose which crimes you want to prosecute. We have a penal law, and all of these crimes are violations of the penal law in the city of New York. And they all need to be prosecuted. Otherwise, you're giving a free reign and a free pass. Crime is going to run rampant in New York, much worse than it's been running these number of months that we've seen while we were under the reign of Mayor de Blasio, who had no position on crime. Vinny, anytime you want to pop in, come right in. Join us. Michelle, join us. Of course, anybody who's watching, please feel free to send in your comments so we can address any questions or comments that you have as well. It was also in the paper today that. Okay, are you here?
I hear you now.
Hey, this is great because I've been carrying the show for like the last 5 minutes. Anytime you want to join us.
Technical difficulties. Where's Michelle? We got to get Michelle in here too.
Okay, so Vinny, let me tell you where I started. I was letting everybody know what the topic is going to be for tonight. We have the new DA Bragg, who's been all over the news today about his free reign and free pass for all the criminals in New York, and how it's in total opposition to our new mayor, Eric Adams, who's a former NYPD police officer who wants to take a tough stance on crime. So the two of them are going to need to be on the same page, because you can't have a mayor who wants to be tough on crime and clean up the streets of New York when you have New York County DA Bragg, who wants to just let everybody out, do what they want, including, gunpoint robberies of stores and bodegas and places of business in the city of New York, and then not want to prosecute them.
Well, that is the leftist, and I don't want to talk. Listen, we're not talking politics, but we have to say the truth. The truth is, George Soros has put money into. He's a billionaire. He's put money into about 13 different district attorneys in 13 different Democratic cities that are high crime. There's a pattern to this. There's a reason for this. This is not happening by happenstance. There's a reason for this. And we're going to discuss this reason tonight. And I hope we don't get into the political aspect, but, the truth is the truth. And what I feel is happening is they want to destroy these. Hey, Ellen, how are you? Who appointed this DA?
The DA was not appointed. There was an election, and he won the election.
Nobody even knew about the election. It wasn't even publicized.
Yes, it was. It was a New York election. I mean,
it's Manhattan DA, right? But I live in Westchester, so I don't get all.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, I live in Brooklyn, so I was out there. I saw who was running on the ballot, You had who was running for, for the Democrats and who was running for the Republicans. But DA Bragg won.
Yeah, well, because he had the money behind him. And the Republican, did he have any money behind him? Did he have I mean, was he a token Republican?
I say, Jude, I'm not sure who was running opposite Bragg.
Do you remember his name? The Republican running? Nobody remembers his name. That's why he wasn't elected.
Well, that's the problem is because the focus was on the mayoral candidates.
Yeah.
Even at this point, do you remember who was running, who the candidates were for the controller's office?
Yeah, the guy. Well, he's another defund the police. Brander, and he just said he wanted to defund the police, but he wants his own security detail. Now, when has ever the controller had a security detail in New York City? Never. Not even Stringer had it. You see what I'm saying? These people, they get into power. They don't want you to have protection, but they want to have protection. They don't want you to. They want you to wear a mask and be vaccinated, but they don't have to. Now that's the hypocrisy in our society, and it's terrible because that's rising. The crime is rising because of that. Let me tell you something. I'm going to take a train every Monday and Tuesday I go into Manhattan for stuff. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get a Metro card, and I'm going to see a guy jump over the turnstile, and I'm going to say, why am I paying him? Let me jump over the turnstile. Okay, hopefully I won't fall on my head and get killed.
And don't break your neck.
Well, that guy, by the way, I know who that guy is. He's in my office. We have 3 offices.
Right.
And in my office, they have a girl in there that's secretary. And that was her baby father. And when I heard about it, I said, oh my God. But he was a piece of garbage. He stole her car. He did terrible things. He didn't take care of her kid. And, this is a drag on society. So, unfortunately, he did a head spin.
If you want to hear something really crazy, a couple of weeks ago, Christmas time, we took a friend of a friend, their son, to the mall out Staten Island for him to go see Santa. Okay? So now, you stand up to the side, and the family pays the money, $50 to go take pictures with Santa. So I'm standing up to the side, I'm trying to take a couple of snapshots on my cell phone. And the woman comes over from the little Santa shop, telling me, you can't take your own pictures because you're paying for the package, you're not allowed to do that. I was like, oh, and by the way, put your mask on. Meanwhile, you had 3 kids running out of the store who just were shoplifting. Nobody stopped them, but I'm getting in trouble for taking an unauthorized picture of Santa, and I didn't have my mask on. I should have just went shoplifting.
That is the hypocrisy of our society. People have gone crazy. Now, I got to tell you, we have a mental health problem in this country. I'll give you an example. This woman that went crazy on the plane and smacked an old man in the face.
Yes.
She's bipolar. She didn't take a medication, and she's an alcoholic. So put that all together, and you have a perfect storm. But you know what? There's a lot of people. I don't know how many 1,700 instances of on airlines of violence against the employees against each other. So people are getting crazy. Now, you want to blame it on the pandemic, or you want to blame it on our society in whole? Because you have cities that people are committing crimes and not getting prosecuted. So what? People say, so what? Why am I going to follow the law when everybody else isn't? Just like you just said, in the store, shoplifters are shoplifting, and you don't have a mask on, and she's giving you a hard time. Why don't you go over to them and say, hey, by the way, as you're shoplifting, please put your mask on, and yell at them, say, I'm going to throw you out because you don't have your mask. You can steal, but you can't have your mask on. I mean, come on. Yeah. You can have your cake and you can't eat it. You can have your shoplifting, but you can't have your mask on. So, and I got to.
In my neighborhood, I was in like a Dwayne Reed, one of those chain drugstores. So I'm standing there looking around and putting all my items into my little candy cart and everything else. And there's a man. I won't say what race and nationality. I don't want to have my head shoot off later on. But there was a gentleman there who was not shopping, he was shoplifting. He's looking right at me. He's looking right at the rent-a-cop security guard in the drugstore, and he's filling up his pockets, his little tote, because he's not using a plastic bag. He's using one of those disposable ones. And so he's shoplifting everything. And I turned around to the store security guard and I go, "Are you kidding me? Why are you arresting him? You stealing in front of us. We're not allowed to go after him." I'm like, am I just standing here on the line, the self-checkout line, going to pay for my stuff? He's shoplifting and walks out the store.
I have a question for you. I'm a customer in that store. I'm with you. And I say something to that guy. I say, "Listen, what are you shoplifting? I'm paying for my stuff, and you're shoplifting." And he gets into an argument with me, and I hit him. Am I going to get in more trouble than he is?
Yes.
Under the new law, you're going to sort. It's a misdemeanor.
You're coming off as the aggressor. There's no reason for you to protect him.
Yeah, but under the new, Pamela, under the new law, they're not prosecuting assaults. They're not prosecuting.
I understand, but initially, why would you even look to assault him? It's not your merchandise.
Okay, I'm not going to assault him. I'm going to approach him and explain to him that he's stealing from the store, and that I'm going to wind up paying for it in higher prices. Now, if he gets aggressive with me, then I have to do what I got to do.
Well, then it's self-defense.
That's self-defense.
Okay.
But now someone might say I antagonize them, but all I'm doing is it's exercising my First Amendment right to tell him that he's a piece of garbage for stealing in the store.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you as a defense attorney, it's not your merchandise. There's no reason for you to protect it. By the way,
I can say something.
We gotta get Michelle. She's on hold.
Okay, let's get Michelle in here because I think. And Michelle, you're going to tell us that, and I believe that this bail bond bullshit is causing this rise in crime, and you're going to tell us all about it.
Well, hi, Pam. Hey, Ben. I mean, it's not shocking. I mean, listen, they reformed bail. You know, it was a Don Cuomo thing to do. He did it in the budget. You know, everybody went batshit crazy, all the recidivists. They loved it. You know, once they found out about it, they went up wild. And it's fantastic for them. They're living the dream. But today, they thought they were living the dream before. Today, we're in the real Disney World. You're going to Disney World. You're going to Disney World. Because Alvin Bragg gets up. Soros funded district attorney that, by the way, ma'am, our new mayor endorsed. And the gentleman that was running for district attorney against him was a friend of mine by the name of Tom Kniff, who's a honorably discharged Marine, who would have done quite well on the red side, but far too red for New York City. But now the criminal recidivists are having parties. Now they're having huge parties. And now, Pam, you know this is being a criminal defense attorney. Now they're going to say, well, why should I commit this particular robbery in the Bronx County or in Richmond County? I'll just go straight to Manhattan. Because there's no way I'm going to get arrested. I'm not going to get prosecuted. It's a total shit show. Imagine being little Jane from Wisconsin and wanting to see the Christmas show here. Everybody should just stay out of New York City for the next 4 years. There's no way you're going to be able to recall him. He's got too much Soros money, and everybody who's in New York City is basically screwed.
Yep. Well said. Well said. It's an anarchy. That's what it is. It's anarchy. And the police are not going to. Why would a police officer arrest somebody when he knows it's going to be thrown out anyway?
You know, the only thing I could say to you, Vin, and I don't want to get political, you know, but we just came off of a big mayoral election, like Pamela said, and Eric Adams, former captain, NYPD, goes and endorses this district attorney, right? And 2 days later, the district attorney gives him the right in the cojones in public and says, "Hey, guess what? Fangul, I'm not going to.
I'm not prosecuting
Yeah,
anyone.
I'm not going to prosecute nobody." So the question is on the minds of New York City is, what's Eric Adams going to do? Where is he? What's he going to say to Alvin Bragg? I mean, if I were the mayor, I'd be calling him in and going, "Have a seat. You and I have to have a conversation. What are you doing?" But guess what? He already got in office, and now all that Soros crap is going to come into play, and there's very little that Eric Adams is going to really be able to do about it.
Plus, you have the city council is very anti-police. So he's got the city council, he's got the district attorney. He's got a tough job ahead of him. And he wants to reestablish the anti-crime, which is very successful. Anti-crime is very, very successful.
It used to be.
Successful. And then the broken windows policy, this is the opposite. This is, the windows aren't broken, so let's steal.
See, I remember when I was in the DA's office, and Michelle, you should remember this too. When I was back in the DA's office, in the Brooklyn DA's office, there were a number of different street units. And I remember this coming out of the 7-2 precinct, which was right down there on 4th Avenue. And they had SNU, they had CPOP, they had all these different divisions within the NYPD that were all anti-crime, undercover officers, and they were taking guns off the street left and right, stop and frisk. And I was in the DA's office at the time, and I had no problem with that because you need to get the guns off the street. So if you're stopping all of these people, you know, and you have probable cause to believe there's a basis that they have a hard object, you see an outline of a hard object, you know, or they have certain characteristics where they appear to be suspicious and you need to stop them, fine. But you know something, you're preventing other crimes from happening, or you're finding guys on the street who already have warrants out on them, and on top of it, they have a weapon. So you're stopping a crime from being committed. Now that you don't have stop and frisk, you have no idea who's carrying guns and who isn't. It really is. It's so wild out there. There is no way possible to get these guns off the streets. I mean, never before. Listen, I was in the DA's office from 91 to 93. For those 2 years back then, and at the time too, I think Giuliani may have been mayor at the time as well.
He was.
You know, right. There was a significant drop in crime. You know, he really did clean up the streets.
He was a boss.
He was Mr. Law and Order. I had interned for him when he was. I'm just gonna get comfortable. Sorry. I had interned for Rudy Giuliani when he was in the U.S. Attorney's office when I was still in law school, and he cleaned up the streets of the city of New York, and you felt safer. And then after that, there's just been such a rapid decline of what's been going on in the city. You can't even walk around me. When you see elderly women who are old enough to be our mothers and grandmothers, and they're getting pushed and shoved in doorways with their little shopping carts, and they're getting raped and robbed and murdered, you know, by punks and thugs, and nobody's batting an eye about it, that's a serious problem with society. And it's all because at the same time, too, they're fearless. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to be in and out within 24 hours, the revolving door of justice. Nothing's going to happen to me. Then you throw in the bail reform that you and I, listen, we discussed that when you were on my show. You know, bail reform killed my practice as a private defense attorney. You know, it killed your practice. It killed your business with the bail.
Well, you know, one thing that I see all the time and that I'm hearing all the time, I'm hearing it from you, I'm hearing it from Vinny, is everybody's talking about gun crime. But guess what? All of this crime transcends firearms. We're moving into a time of crime of moral turpitude. Mm-hmm. And basically what these recidivists are doing, and like Vinny said, the majority of them are EDP, they're emotionally disturbed people. Much of them, the majority of them are also addicted to narcotics. But what they are doing is they are attacking groups of people in New York that don't fight back. Asians, Hasidic Jews,
The elderly.
LGBTQ, the elderly, children.
Yep.
So these are all what we call soft targets,
targets.
right? And they know, criminal recidivists know who to attack. They don't choose you by virtue of your political ideology. They choose you because you're an easy target,
Sure,
right?
you're prey.
You're prey to them.
Prey.
You know, and that's really what's going on. And when you have a guy like Alvin Bragg, unfortunately, the next 4 years of New York City are just going to be hell. All these Upper East Side moms and these crazy, you know, philanthropic people that voted for Alvin Bragg, well, you know what? They really need to be ashamed of themselves for what they contributed to New York City, for not knowing who was in the district attorney's race, because the district attorney is the chief law enforcer of every city, of every county in which they operate. And I feel terrible for the people of New York.
Yeah, but you know who we have to blame for that? You know who we have to blame for that, Michelle? The voters themselves. Because if they actually took the time out to see and to investigate and to research who the candidates are, it would be very different than going in there blindly and just going down all Republican, all Democrat, all liberal, and just voting down the line. That's the problem. People spend more time shopping around for a pair of shoes, a designer handbag, or a cell phone. That to them is more important than who's going to be in charge of, like you said, law enforcement in every DA's office across the counties.
Yeah, but you have to look at the bigger picture. If you notice that in the red states and the Republican cities, they don't have the crime that you have in the other cities. Now, why? Why? Because they're more law and order. That's why people live in those. Like you live in Nassau County, right, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm from there also.
I mean, I have a home there.
Nassau and Suffolk County are law and order. They prosecute.
Well, they are now because Annie Donnelly got in.
But you also look at the difference of size. You can't compare Nassau County.
I've had cases in Staten Island, in Nassau and Suffolk, and I noticed that they're more aggressive against criminals there than in New York City.
But Vinny, you can't compare Nassau County to New York County
because
of the vast difference of the population, of the demographics of the kind of people you have.
Yeah, but Pam,
the kind of people you have in New York City, not many of them are low income, collecting Section 8, collecting welfare. So they don't have a stake in the city. They don't own property. They don't care about stuff like that. They're not paying rent. They're not paying for food. They're getting everything for free. So they have this mentality that's status quo. And they don't. Again, what you said before, they don't look at the people that are running for office. They just vote in this. Okay, I'm a Democrat.
Okay, but at the same time, too, I gotta differ with you on that, because some of the people that you're signaling out, I don't think a lot of those people actually go out and vote. And for the most part, when you look at New York City, and you have a lot of very expensive real estate in New York where people live, they live and they work in the city, and they own co-ops and condos, and you have high rent districts in New York. Those people are voting. Now the question is, are they voting for an Alvin Bragg, or were they voting for his opponent?
Well, I call them limousine liberals. Okay, they're limousine liberals. They're liberals when it suits them. They're conservative. You know what a conservative is? A liberal that got mugged. Okay, so what happens is until they get mugged, then they're liberal. Once they get mugged, they say, "Wait, maybe." Now, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, where were the police? Where were the police? I just got mugged.
Okay, two Congress representatives in Congress were recently carjacked, and one was in Virginia, and I think one was in Washington, D.C. And these two Congress people were against the police, defund the police. Now they get robbed, and they say, wait a minute, maybe he made a mistake. And I see a lot of these politicians, they're reinventing themselves. Now they're saying, well, maybe we should have, like, Lori, what's her name, Lightweight, and I call her Lightweight, Chicago.
Lightfoot.
Lightfoot. Oh, she's lightweight anyway, but she now realizes what's going on, and she's trying to get the feds to come in with their police, and she's trying to get more money for the police department. But the police department is demoralized. Those cops don't want to do their job because the government doesn't. They don't. They don't care. I mean, they don't have anybody backing them up. And as soon as they take any aggressive action, it's police brutality. Now, I have to say, I'm pro law enforcement. Now, I was a state investigator. I worked with NYPD and I worked with Suffolk and Nassau PD on cases of narcotics, child abuse, things of that nature involving the doctors that committed crimes and those things. And I have a lot of respect for these police. Most of them are very, very good. But you have a few that, you know, I mean, you can't have the best in everything. You know, I work for the medical board. Every doctor isn't the best either. You know, and we see that with malpractice. We see that with other things. Same thing with lawyers. Every lawyer isn't, no offense to you, Pam, every lawyer isn't the best either. You got some bad lawyers. But you can't vilify a whole profession for a couple of rotten apples, okay?
Of course. Absolutely.
Well, yes, you can. Look at me.
That's what they're doing. Anti-police, and then they have riots in these cities. They say, oh, it's peaceful demonstration. And then we can get into Kyle Rittenhouse talking about defending himself. And he got to, by the way, I have to bring this up because we had two beautiful women on my show. 3 women had just been convicted on serious crimes within a 2-week period of time. You got the girl Holmes in California with the Toronto's case, where she allegedly, and now she's convicted, of defrauding millions of dollars from people. She was a CEO. And you have, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell. And you have unfortunately, you have a police officer that made a grievous mistake, and she got convicted of manslaughter first degree and manslaughter second degree. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, women get convicted too. I don't know, what is that? Like some sort of a new thing?
No, I think it's just 3 major cases of women in at the same period of time. Now, you had a black man in I think Florida or Georgia who shot at cops defending himself, and he was acquitted. But you don't hear about that because he had a gun. He defended himself, and the jury found that he was not guilty. Now, they got him on other stuff. He got him for something else. But the fact is that he defended himself, and he was acquitted. Same thing as Kyle Rittenhouse. But what also, I don't know if you noticed, but gun sales in the United States has skyrocketed. These gun shops, they can't carry as many guns and ammunition. Why? Because people don't trust the police. They don't have enough police. Now, you call 911. Pamela, Michele, how many minutes does it take for the police to come when you dial 911 on an average?
A couple.
No, more like 5 or 6 minutes, and some places 10 minutes.
I don't know. I call
You
911
could be dead.
a car accident, and they tell me unless anybody's injured, they're not coming after me. Would you move?
Yeah, that happened to me. I got a car accident 3 weeks ago, and I got cold. I got sick because I had to wait for them to take the report. It was a freezing night. I didn't have my hat, and I have no hair up there, and I got I got a bad cold. But they asked, is anybody injured? No. Okay. They don't.
They're not coming. Right. They tell you that's an exchange.
Well, I am in the free state of Florida right now, to be honest, full disclosure. And if I call the cops, they'll be here in 3 seconds. So I'm sorry for all of you guys.
Also, there's a different state of mind over this.
Right, but everybody, in New York is basically screwed. And I just want to go back to something that Pam said. And let me tell you who screwed over the people of New York City that could have helped. Okay, Pam?
Okay.
And this might sound a little political then, but the Republican Party put up a guy named Tom Caniff, right? If they would have started doing commercials about him a year ago, about what a military hero he was and putting money into him, okay, then the 2 of you would know his name, boom, 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 right off the top of your head.
Right.
But you don't know his name because guess what they did not do? they did not support their own candidate. And if they say they do, they're a bunch of fat white liars. So, and I'll say it right to their eyes.
So wait a second. He's a Republican candidate, and the Republicans did not back him or support him.
They might have backed him, but they did what we say in New York. They did un gats for him.
Okay,
You understand what I'm saying?
They didn't do anything.
So why is that if they didn't want one of their own in?
Because you know what? I guess they felt like no matter what, they weren't going to win. But you know what? If they would have changed the way that they branded the race a year prior to the race, more people would have known about it. They could have done a rebranding of the whole issue, but they're so antiquated and they're so dinosaur-like and they're so unwilling to change. And that's why New York City was gifted with I don't want to prosecute anybody, Mr. Alvin Bragg. So, I mean, I feel bad for everybody. And here's the thing. In New York City, you cannot carry a firearm, but just make sure that you know that a pen is a weapon. Carry your pen between your fingers, carry some pepper spray, carry anything to protect yourself, because invariably you are going to become the next crime victim.
Anything. I remember learning from in the DA's office. Anything could be a weapon if you're using deadly force with it. Whether it's a pen you're jabbing into someone's throat or to their eye, you use keys. They show women are supposed to interlock their keys between their fingers and walk with it. So this way there's a key between each finger. So if you had to jab somebody, you do it and you run, kick them in the balls and do whatever it is that you have to do and just take off. But the problem is too, a lot of these crimes are happening. Women are walking down side streets to go to their car or to go home. And, you know, you're looking behind you and you don't know who's behind you as you're struggling with your keys to get into the door. And then you got the vestibule to get into. So many crimes in New York City occur between the front door and the vestibule in their own home.
Well, people have to be listen, you can't be paranoid, but you have to be cautious. And I've actually taught women self-defense. I was on TV a few times showing people how to self-defense. And what you girls said is perfect. Everything's a weapon. A book is a weapon. A hardback is a weapon.
Pens are great.
A pen is great. But the problem is, even criminals look at these stories. You know, they know. But the problem is, you said it before. They go after elderly people. They go after people that they don't walk. Now, Esquire magazine many years ago did an article. They interviewed a mugger that just came out of jail. They said, "We want to know from you, who do you mug?" And he said, "A man that doesn't walk steady, doesn't walk with confidence. Boom, he's a victim. An old lady, a young person, somebody that looks." You know, same thing in the animal kingdom. You know, the lion eats the tiger eats the cheetah. Everybody eats somebody smaller and weaker than them. It's human nature and it's animal nature. Okay.
And you know who else is also a target? Mothers with young children. You have infants, toddlers, and everything else. You just recently, in broad daylight, a car stopped trying to snatch a little child away from a mother when she was at the intersection with another child. In broad, they're brazen.
Let me tell you what's causing that. It's called child trafficking. Okay, what happens is when all these people coming through the southern border, many of them are child traffickers. Okay, some of them have worked for the cartel, some of them are independents. They've caught so many, and yet so many get away. There's a lot of what they call getaways. You can't stem the flow of people that are coming in on the border. Now, we all know why the White House wants them in, why Nancy Pelosi wants them in. They're potential voters, okay? But I got a feeling that if the Republicans approach the Hispanics the right way, many of the Hispanics are now becoming Republicans. But if they curry favor with these people, they might get them at least 50-50. But what I'm seeing is that they want non-citizens to vote. That is ridiculous. That's against the Constitution. Am I correct, Pamela?
Yes, but I don't see that happening. I don't see a lot of these
I
people
don't see it happen. They
who are
want
coming
that.
in.
That's what they're
They're
pushing
coming in.
for.
These are not the people who are voting. But also with this
Okay.
specific incident that occurred, they were not Hispanic. They were not from south of the border. They were, I want to say, locals, but they're not the people that you're speaking of with the political ties or non-political ties as far as voters. You have a lot of very sick, demented people who are out there, and you can't. First of all, going back to something that you said earlier about the mentally ill that are also committing crimes. They're not the ones with guns. For the most part, you have all these. How many incidents have we seen over the last number of months of both mentally ill men and women pushing people into
On the
oncoming
subway.
trains, onto
And
subways?
using pushing people using a knife. That's all they can get. That's all they have. They can't.
But even
You know what?
separate from the
Real
separate from
criminals,
right, but
real
separate from
criminals can get guns on the streets. You can go to Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brownsville. You can go to the Bronx. You can go to Harlem, and if you know one or two street people, you can get a gun. $500-600, $1,000, you can get a gun. Now, they want to stem the Second Amendment. They say, "Oh, we want to cut down on it." But the people that are buying guns legally are not committing crimes. They want it for defense.
Okay, but at the same time,
That's
you do have some really screwed up situations that happen with lawful gun owners. You had the man the other day who shot and killed his 14-year-old or 16-year-old daughter in his house because he thought she was an intruder. That happened down south. It was in the news the other day.
Yeah, that happens. That's a
I
mistake.
mean, shit happens every day.
Some people are not well. I'll give you an example. In Pennsylvania, in a restaurant the other day, a guy came in with a gun, threatened the people, said, "I want the money."
Right.
And the father was in the back, and he heard the commotion. And the guy said they killed the wife and the son in the store. The father came out, bing, bing, boom, shot the guy legally. He shot him in self-defense. Now, more and more, and you don't hear so many. The mainstream media doesn't want you to hear these stories, but they are happening. People are defending themselves legally in their own homes.
But they should. Yes, I agree. You have the right to defend yourself in your own home. If someone's going to come into my home with a gun, I mean, we learned this in first year of law school. Someone comes into your home using deadly force, you have the absolute right to use deadly force to protect yourself.
Correct.
Pamela,
Yes.
Vinny, did you hear today specifically on the charge of robbery? I don't know the penal code. Pam, maybe you could help me with that. But
Robberies, I think,
when
the 160s.
On the 160s, but no. He's not going to prosecute if the robber enters into your home and you're a single person. He's only going to prosecute if the robber enters your home and it's a family.
I didn't hear that today. That's insane.
Yeah. That was one of the things that was pointed out today. I mean,
also Michelle, he also says that if you commit a robbery with a weapon, but you don't hurt anybody, it's a misdemeanor.
Yeah, well, we don't really change the penal code.
That is a felony. You walk into a store with a gun, that's armed robbery. That's a
right, but you know what he'll do, Vinny? He'll decline prosecution.
He's not going to prosecute.
Right.
So they call it a misdemeanor. They call it a misdemeanor so they can do ACD,
exactly.
adjournment and contemplation dismissal.
Yeah. Reduce it to a violation, pay a fine, maybe do some community service. It's pathetic. It's so, something, I liked it better when I was in the DA's office with Hines. Charlie Hines was tough on crime.
Charlie was the best.
Charlie Hines was wonderful, made
such a good guy.
Fabulous. Morgan.
He was a good. We had a lot of dinners with him. We gave him a lot of awards. He was a good guy with 5 children, 5 boys he's got. And,
rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And then Morgan
like
Thau was a fabulous DA in New York County. It was one of the most respected counties when Morgan Thau was the district attorney.
Well, it's just, it's very unfortunate what bail reform has done to not just the city of New York, but to the state of New York. From Bath, New York to Brooklyn, New York, from Niagara, New York to Staten Island, New York. Crime victims are piling up everywhere. And, I will tell you that crime victims are really starting to get organized. and they are really starting to become a lobby. I've been working ever since bail reform came into play. People are saying to me like, well, Michele, what are you doing? I spend a good amount of my time supporting the mothers of murdered children now and telling them how to go about the lobbying process, helping them write white papers, helping them, move that particular needle. So I look forward to them continuing to lobby, and they really want to meet with Alvin Bragg, and they really want to meet with Eric Adams. But I will tell you, the biggest pay-per-view match that I would like to pay for and get a front row seat for is the fight between Eric Adams and Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. Because Alvin screwed him big time.
Big
But
time.
let me ask you, Pam, I want to ask you something. The district attorney's office, do they get money from the city? Does the mayor have any control over the finances of the district attorney's office?
Honestly, I can't answer that. I'm not sure. Because I know it's funded.
I'm not sure either. I don't know. Are they
state
independent? Do they get their money from the state and not from the city? I don't know.
The district attorney's office gets money from asset forfeiture, and it goes into a general fund. So the district attorney is sitting on millions and millions and millions of dollars. The district attorney's office does work with the city of New York in some budget facets where there are programs like supervised release and things like that, but they're not dependent on the mayor's office.
Okay. I thought the mayor would be able to
cut his balls off a little bit. No.
Well, the only thing is that, and you've seen this on television shows like Blue Bloods, and it's real, where the cops get the blue flu. Now, when they have these major, now he did say he's going to prosecute major cases, murder, kidnapping. What if the police? They kind of get a little lackadaisical with that. Say, well, I don't feel good today. I can't testify, and screw up their trial. It works both ways. You got a yin and a yang here. And,
the thing is, he can say that he's going to prosecute the major offenses, but Madeline Brame, who's the chairwoman for the Victims' Rights Reform Council in New York, her son was a two-time Afghanistan war hero when he was brutally stabbed and murdered on the streets of Harlem. They're on the fourth judge, they're on the third district attorney, and it's 3.5 years later, and 4 of those perpetrators have not been brought to trial. So he could say all he wants that he's going to prosecute murderers, but guess what they do? Adjourn, 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 adjourn. It takes because of COVID too, it takes 3 to 5 years to convict somebody in the city of New York. That's a bunch of bullshit.
And also right now, I'll tell you, because of COVID, I mean, you got people, first of all, you got inmates and clients languishing in the jails. But at the same time, too, any of the victims who want their cases and want justice for whatever happened to their loved ones, all it is, it's like, oh, it's another adjournment because, they're still trying to figure out with COVID how they're going to be working the courts and nothing's open yet. So we're going to adjourn it again. Remember, we're going to have a status conference. But, but then the defendant could not be produced because of COVID. So now it's just going to be a telephone conference and we're going to adjourn it again and we're going to adjourn it again. So now here we are, we're into a new year. And no matter what happens up in Albany, they're still trying to figure out what's happening in all the courts. They're claiming that the courts are open, that for trials, you obviously have to be in person for a plea of guilty, a sentencing, and a trial. Okay, anything else, you're doing these Zoom or Microsoft Teams meetings and everything else for the cases, and everything is getting pushed and pushed and pushed. Now, if we have Omicron and possibly, who knows, another 4th, 5th, 6th wave, the question becomes what's happening with the courts. You have Rikers Island right now, who has limited staff, so they have their own issues over there at Rikers Island. So they're understaffed. They're not putting the inmates on the buses, or the inmates are sick because of COVID, so they don't want to produce anybody. So what happens to everybody's cases? It's staggered and pushed and pushed. And
I rest my case.
Yeah.
There goes the criminal. That's what's been going on with criminal cases.
Michele, I have one thing I want. We have 5 minutes left. In Houston, Texas, 113 people have been allowed out of bail with little or no bail. They were all capital murders. They committed 150 additional murders while they're out on bail.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear this. I get this from the conservative newsletters that I get in law enforcement. I get a lot of law enforcement stuff.
Yeah.
But 150 people were killed from the 113 guys, men and women, I guess some women too, that were out on bail. What? Oh, yes. The final variant is called communism. That's from Anthony Rosati in Florida.
True.
I have to agree with that.
Me too.
But again, we're not political. We're talking crime, disorder, law and disorder.
Well, in reference to what you're saying in Houston, just by way of information, I'm also the president of the National Association of Bail Agents. So I have my finger on the tip of what's going on in Houston on a daily basis. We're just doing a press release about another issue in Houston. Houston has been a debacle of bail reform. So when they say that those individuals were released on bail, they were not released on bail, Vinny. They were released on something that we refer to as unsecured bail or sign and drive, where the defendant signs his own bond, he pays no money, and it looks like, or it appears on paper as if he was out on bail, but he was not out on a secured bond. He did not have to, his family did not have to pay a premium. There was no collateral proffered. So that particular individual essentially signs himself out of jail. And this is a particular occurrence that's happening nationally.
What you just said, they just signed themselves out. What is the deterrent for them to what is the deterrent?
No, there is no deterrent. It's called
genocide. And they've committed more crimes, serious crimes.
Genocide.
Now, Houston is a liberal city. Houston is now Texas is a very red state, very conservative. But I guess there are pockets of, even in blue states there are pockets. Even in California there are pockets of conservatives. But they have no voice in California. They have no voice. Everybody from California is going to Texas or Florida. Okay, even Elon Musk sold his house. Yeah, I know. I hate you.
My son wants to move to Texas.
Well, I want to go to Florida. I have a lot of friends down there, and I got some business down there.
I need to go to Florida. I need the beach.
And we've yeah. What part of Florida are you in? What part of Florida?
I can't. In the state.
Okay.
By the beach.
Okay. By the beach. Okay. That's...
The bail bond queen doesn't say where she lives on television.
Okay, I know. But I like the East Coast. I like the Atlantic part.
You like anywhere there's a girl in a bikini. Stop lying.
That keeps me warm, yes. Well,
I know him a long time.
In Petersburg, we had an office for an insurance company that we were doing work for in St. Petersburg. We were at the beach every day. The Gulf Stream water is so warm. I mean, it was great. We loved it. We didn't do any work.
I need the East Coast beach in Florida. Get me a palm tree and any tropical drink with a little hut and a hot.
I like tiki bars. I like to go to tiki bars in Florida.
Well, I'll see you smoke here. I ain't coming back there for a hot minute. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And I
save your children.
What?
Save your children, everybody who's listening. Learn how to take a self-defense course and stay inside and lock the door.
Well, that's a good idea. The problem is, I know a lot of people take self-defense courses, but you have to have heart. You have to know that you got to be able to. Yeah, you got to have cojones. Yeah. So, I think Anthony, we have a couple minutes left. I don't know if we're over limit. By the way, you guys were great tonight. I love it. You're my partner. You're my guest. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff.
I love this. I really do. I love this. We've been talking about, Michelle, Vinny and I were talking about this since last year, about combining our efforts, because aside from me having my own podcast, I love the idea that we're together like this, law and disorder. There is just so much every single day to talk about.
Of course.
It's incredible. Now, something, we have a new mayor, we have a new DA. We're going to see what's going to be going on in New York. You got
to be doing these every single day from now on, Pam.
It's going to be great.
Every day.
Well, I have no problem with that.
Every single
So
day.
we're gonna every week. Next week, I have a guy who's a member of organized crime that's retired, or more or less retired. He's out of it, and he's willing to come on the show and talk. So I don't know if you want to have.
How you doing? How you doing? Pass the gravy.
Yeah. I won't tell you what family he's in because I can't say that, but I can tell you
Pinched.
retired.
Those are the ones that call me in the middle of the night. Michelle, my cousin Anthony, he got pinched in Brooklyn. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Hey, we got Jamie from Miami. She's calling. My sister just bought a house in Miami. Jamie, my dear friend and employee and whatever, she's everything to me. She's in Miami with her husband. Her husband retired out of New York City. They have an apartment in New York City. I guess they go back and forth. But and her daughter just going to medical school, I believe. So, and not in New York City. She's going upstate New York at medical school.
Tell her to carry a scalpel with her to class.
I keep a shovel in the back of my car. This way, in case I have to dispose of the bodies along the way, I just stop, dig them up, put them in. That's it. We keep going.
You never know. No, I didn't hear that, Pam.
Oh, listen, I got to do a little plug because as everybody knows me, by day I am an attorney, civil, criminal, civil rights violations, and by night for the last 3 years, I'm known as New York's funny lawyer. I've been doing stand-up comedy, so I'm going to be announcing my upcoming dates. Yeah, we have to do something together.
Anthony's supposed to give us a plug. Anthony, where's the plug for my books? I don't know if he hears me. I'm gonna fire him. No, he's good. He's great. This kid is good. I ran a lot of technical problems tonight. I don't know what's going on with my computer.
Well, it was great to be with you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's so nice to see you. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. I want to speak to you about some stuff.
About you at the same time. We both talk about you at the same time.
Thank you.
I love your red hair. Jamie loves your red hair.
Oh, that's not where it begins and ends, honey.
Oh, wait a minute. This is not that kind of show.
It could be. It could be.
Oh, no, isn't it? It's after 9 o'clock at night.
Listen, Michelle, you got it. Me and Pam and I are talking about doing a court reality show, and I want you involved in it. We're gonna do something like that. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing that.
I'll be the next Judge Domingo.
Oh my God! I remember Pat when she had dark hair. We were roommates. I always joke around with her. I said, "Listen, I know your real story." I said, "You used to be a brunette."
Yeah, she's something. She's
and I was a brunette at one time too, but you can't tell. Actually, I had blonde hair.
Call me if you need someone to talk to. Call me.
Call me.
Satisfaction guarantee.
I want to thank both of you for you. I can't thank because you're my partner, but I got to thank Michelle, and you guys were great, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna fine tune this show, right? Right? You're gonna get your computer fixed. He spilled water in our computer.
I did. I spilled water on my laptop tonight. I have to do it off my phone.
Oh, Maron.
I'm gonna have to put my entire computer tonight in rice.
That's a skit.
At least we're human beings. We make mistakes. You make mistake with water on your computer. I make mistake with whatever I did on my computer. And Michelle, you didn't make any mistakes. So
of course not.
2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 isn't bad.
Of course, I put lipstick on for you guys.
Oh, well, that's one. I appreciate that. Red lipstick turns me up. Red lipstick.
You should. Of course, everything.
It goes with your hair. It matches your hair.
If we blow in your direction, you get turned
There
on.
you go. That's the Vinny I know. Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much. Anthony, what happened to you, Anthony? Anthony,
where are you?
I'm in the audio. Okay. I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you so
much.
All right,
Dan, I'll talk to you tomorrow, sweetheart, okay?
All right, guys.
Good night.